Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lights on Data show. My name is George Firican, and today we're putting the lights on a topic that has been getting a lot of attention lately: how AI is reinventing MDM and data governance. Now, here's the thing: as AI is rapidly evolving, many organizations are asking a new set of questions. If AI can classify data, if AI can clean data, even generate metadata, then what does that mean for master data management and data governance? Are they being reinvented? Are they being replaced? And more importantly, how should leaders prepare? And to explore this, I'm joined by two fantastic guests, Bruno Billy and Ken Brown. Guys, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Bruno, you're the president of APGAR North America, and Ken, you're the head of customer success at APGAR. But can you please give us a quick summary of yourself and your role?
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Bruno Billy. I'm from APGAR North America. I'm based in Austin, in Texas. I've been for over 20 years helping companies transform how they use data to operate better, operate more effectively. And just one word maybe about APGAR. So we're a services firm and we focus on enterprise data. So we help customers with their data programs. And we combine technical delivery and organizational change.
And Ken?
Hi, everybody, and thanks for having us, George. Ken Brown. I've been in the information technology software 35 years, so dating myself a little bit. In the last 15 or so years, it's really been concentrated in the master data management area, working for companies like Orchestra Networks, Tibco, Samarkey, and then having joined APGAR just this year, earlier in 2025.
That's wonderful. And Bruno, how you're mentioning, APGAR has been working hands-on with organizations to really modernize their data estates, if you will. And I'm glad I know both of you have seen in real time what's changing, what's not, and what needs to evolve as well. And I know I've also seen from my side in both business intelligence, data governance, how AI can have an impact, and kind of the other way around as well. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation today to see the impact both ways and how that goes along. So let's start with the first question, which I alluded to in the intro there. But if AI can clean data and classify data, is MDM and governance becoming redundant?
Yeah, it's kind of important to ask what data is it that's being cleaned and how that data is going to be cleaned by AI. Because remember, master data is made up of key data assets in your organization, things like customers, products, charts of accounts, reference data, different things like that. Excuse me. So if there are attributes on, say, your customer records, and those attributes tend to coincide with different public information and common information available in the public sphere, then AI can really be useful because it's trained on all that public data. And that frequently includes things like reference data, addresses for address validations, and things like that. So in my opinion, it's really data quality tools that could one day be under threat by AI, if you will. And the reason is that we've used them to clean and augment our own customer data records using essentially that same publicly available data that's used to train AI models. I also think it's a big reason why people are asking these questions regarding redundant technologies, because a lot of people conflate data quality with master data management. Rather, ensuring master data management really is high quality as an outcome of the practice of master data management. But back to your question, if data is proprietary, or worse, if it's both proprietary and volatile, then AI can really help, because its training data is entirely silent when it comes to proprietary data. And that's why excuse me, that's why you need to first take the time to train your AI on your enterprise data, and why MDM complements AI perfectly, just like we have for a long time preparing BI type data or analyst type data.
Yeah, I don't believe AI removes the need for MDM or data governance. I feel it's quite the opposite, actually. And in fact, I think it amplifies it. So if you don't have that consistent master data, the accurate information about entities such as your customers, your products, your suppliers, then your AI model will fail. It's true, AI can automate tasks, and the things we'll discuss probably later today, like classification, the enrichment, match and merge, yes, but it cannot create that enterprise alignment on what a customer or what a product is. And I can give you an example for this. For instance, it's one of our clients. So they have both a direct sales team and a channels team. So the channels team, they sell through distributors and the distributors are the customers. When for the direct sales team, the end users are the customers. And that, of course, is reflected in the enterprise application. So you have in the ERP, bill to are the customer, the bill tos. When you have in the CRM, for instance, the ship to. And who's right, who's wrong, yeah, it's difficult. So the AI system cannot figure it out. And that's what governance has to do, and that's the role. So I see AI being downstream from MDM and data governance, for instance, not being the other way around. And if you don't have good MDM, good data governance, we'll see the models hallucinate, we'll see a misrepresentation of the world. And great AI with messy data, I don't think that's going to work.
Well, in fact, I'd suggest that organizations that struggle the most with AI are the ones that never solve their MDM problems to begin with.
Right. And your birthright context is so important, and it's really so specific, often to the organization itself. And yeah, AI still needs that source of truth and needs those clear definitions, policy constraints, and again the context of the business. And so far, I haven't seen any solutions that are baking that in as well. Maybe at an industry scale, but still, each organization is quite different. And without those, I think the AI model simply can't really understand your environment very well and just scales your inconsistencies, if you will. But have you seen companies adopt AI hoping that it will, magically fix their data problems?
George, you're starting to sound a little bit like a technology vendor. Doesn't every enterprise data technology vendor always say that their technology is going to fix all of your problems? It's when there's a bit of frothiness in the market, everybody always assumes that the latest shiny object is going to solve all their problems. And we heard that it's the very same thing about big data and machine learning a couple of years ago. And we've heard it about data catalogs and metadata management and how they're going to solve all of our analytics issues.
Yeah. AI is, again, just like you mentioned, Ken, just a tool. It's a tool. So tools are a solution to a problem. They don't diagnose what kinds of data problems you have. And let's be honest, what we are seeing, all of us probably, is most data problems today are not technical in nature anyway. Most of the data problems we see are organizational in nature. It's an unclear ownership, it's inconsistent processes, the absence of shared definition. And MDM, like data governance, those practices, they're used to get to high quality data, and tools they're part of that process. But for me, when it comes to the right approach for this, I'd like to say it's actually quite simple, and it's not different from what you would expect from your physician or even the technician fixing your car. Before jumping to the solution, you want to know the diagnosis. So jumping straight to AI without understanding the root issues, where they sit in your operating model, in your processes, is really setting yourself up for failure. So AI can accelerate, but it cannot compensate for not knowing what the problems are and what problems you're trying to solve.
It's kind of like the adage that we've all used at one time or another, and that is, if all you have is a hammer, all your problems start to look like nails.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, it never really fixes the root cause of issues. And if you don't fix the root cause, you're still going to have the same thing reoccurring, and you have to keep on fixing it. And that's not ideal. But, Ken, to your point too, I've seen technologies out there that are now helping you seed the data catalog, for example, or identify different relationships or even patterns in data, so then you can create data quality rules. That being said, there are kind of boilerplate definitions and relationships and things that they're trying to identify. So they're not perfect, but they're giving you a leg up, maybe, especially when you have huge amounts of data that you need to govern and clean. It's a crutch that can help you get there a little bit faster. But yeah, in no way they're replacing or fixing your data problems. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm very curious. What are the most promising use cases that you've seen for AI augmented governance?
So the biggest change that I have seen and we're seeing today is, I think, really on the user experience. So with AI making MDM, for instance, way more accessible. So you can find, for instance, conversational access, or your suggested merges, your next best, stewardship actions, all of that. Those capabilities are real and they're available today. And it helps for sure the business functions and the business users work faster, and at the end, what it does, it increases the adoption of the technology. So that's here. So it's a lot of use cases that work today. They are not science fiction, they're real. And we can also see AI doing a very good job, for instance, at anomaly detection. uh,
Hmm.
when catching things like VAT numbers that are missing, invalid formats. It can also recommend some policies, the business rules based on the metadata, classify, identify, for instance, PII across documents, across your application. And another thing that we see, it's surfacing relationships that people might miss. So identifying shared customers, for instance, across business units or across regions.
And George, it also kind of brings to mind then that AI isn't working so well. And so, for example, one area where the results have been mixed is fully automated product categorization. It's helpful, but it's nowhere near plug and play yet.
And the reason for this, I think, it's just because product data is incredibly domain specific.
Hmm.
Every company has its own taxonomy, its own hierarchies, naming conventions, um, and the models are trained on generic public data. So it just can't infer that internal logic specific to an organization. And until the AI systems or the AI is trained directly on your enterprise product data, your rules, the model is just generic and just guessing. And that's where and that human expertise, I think, is still essential.
But exactly, it's general semantics versus organization specific semantics. So, for instance, public models, they understand what a shoe is, but they don't understand how your company classifies shoes for, say, pricing, for supply chain, for compliance, or for financial reporting. And that's why MDM still has to validate those structures before AI is able to help, really.
Good point. One example I wanted to bring on LLMs, because those are often equated with AI, right? AI
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah.
is now in focus because of LLMs. But I do find within the data governance field, because they're great at summarizing things, you give them a text such as, "Hey, here's a policy, or here's a new law. Help me digest what are the takeaways that I need to worry about, or figure out my changes in PIA or my own internal policies as a result of this."
Mhm.
So any changes to GDPR, any amendments and additions, it's a lot easier with an LLM to kind of digest all of that stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Then again, do you really trust it? You still need to do your own pass. But do you have an example of how MDM or governance enhanced AI at a client? Any
Yes.
examples
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
field?
Yeah. I have one very good example of MDM and enhancing AI. So it's for an industrial company. So that company, they manufacture complex equipment. Those equipments come with multiple sensors, and those sensors will report temperature, pressure, and many other metrics. The issue started because two different sensors were shipped using the same ID, the same tag identifier. AI interpreted those identical IDs as if they were the same, referring to the same piece of equipment. So it began generating critical, urgent alerts, recommending interventions and operations that would have disrupted the business for sure and cost millions of dollars.
Hmm.
In reality, of course, these identical IDs belong to two completely different physical products. And so nothing to really worry about. So we applied proper MDM, consistent identifiers, we mastered equipment records and corrected the relationships. And then AI understood data correctly and started making great recommendations. So my two lessons learned from this and the lessons from this issue, the first one, we say that already AI can only be as smart as the master data underpinning it. If you don't have that foundation, then even the best models will misinterpret the world. And second, I think quite interesting here, and probably also valid for many companies, AI actually surfaced a deeper organizational issue. And those conflicting tags came from two different product families managed by two very independent business units that had never aligned on their standards. And it revealed at the end that AI revealed the governance gap. And of course, we know that MDM is uniquely positioned to solve such problems.
Of course, every organization wants to be AI ready now, even if they need to or not, right? Sometimes they just need an
Mhm.
automation, but it's kind of framed as, oh, we need to be AI. Needless to say, AI is here to stay, right? And I think
Mhm.
organizations that are getting on board and taking advantage of those capabilities that it's bringing can definitely go a step up, but you need to be AI ready. So, how does a data team make their existing MDM and governance to be more AI ready?
Yeah, what we've seen with our customers is actually there's a pretty clear set of steps that makes an MDM or a data governance program AI ready. Um, the very first one is consolidating and cleaning your core entities, your core data sets, your customers, your products, your suppliers, your organization units. These are the foundations that every AI model will depend on. So you need the MDM practices in place to keep your data sets clean over time. The second is activating and organizing your metadata. AI thrives when the metadata is well structured and you have the business terms, you have the lineage, you have the policies, the quality rules, the ownership. And the richer and the more connected your metadata is, the more AI can reason over it. AI loves your logs. AI loves the audit trails, all user activities. And without that pulse, AI has really nothing to learn from. So feed it with your logs and audit trails and user activities. The third step, I think, will be to standardize your stewardship workflows.
Mm.
So having a clear ownership, clear definitions, clear business roles, with AI being powerful, but it cannot infer that governance. And the humans in your organizations, they still define how the business works. If those stewardship, validation, quality workflows are inconsistent across business units, then AI will reflect that inconsistency immediately. And the fourth, not very difficult, but the fourth, I think, not very difficult to implement is just to connect your MDM directly to your AI initiatives. So don't go build separate AI datasets because you'll create inconsistency again. So just use the same golden sources that you have for your ERPs, your operational systems. The same golden sources will work.
Right. So AI really, AI ready doesn't mean that you have to go buy a bunch more tools. It means further leveraging your current investments in things like MDM to build stronger foundations, clarify data ownership, improve your metadata, and so forth.
Mhm. What I'm hearing is still the same best practices as
Mhm.
before
Okay.
AI. Those are still in place, so we still need to follow them. Only now we have AI as an addition, right? As a scope. So we're kind of expanding the benefits of why we should invest in good MDM and data governance practices.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then Bruno, you touched on the stewardship piece. How should companies rethink data stewardship roles now that AI co-pilots exist and more are adopting them?
This is one of the areas where AI can really improve stewardship efforts, although not replace them. What we're
Hmm.
saying is that stewards no longer need to spend their days doing that tedious manual corrections. fixing misspellings and things like that. The stewardship role is really shifting more towards oversight and validation, really handling those exceptions. So the human, the data steward, is really becoming more of an editor-in-chief, not the person just operating a keyboard. So they're actually making decisions, but they don't have to push every single button along the journey of that path.
Yeah, and I said it before, George, but AI can help identifying those issues, the mergers, the anomalies, and all the repetitive and, let's say, kind of boring stuff that gets really almost nobody very excited. So that's great. So the steward can then decide what is correct, and like every correction will become that training data for your AI system and your augmented steward. So the role becomes more analytical and less operational. And one of the big question, of course, is how much should the AI actually do? And it's hard to answer this, but I know that the answer is never everything. You should treat your AI agent the same way you would treat an assistant, data steward, or a junior team member.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe putting it slightly differently, the AI has a role, it has responsibilities, it has expectations. It fits into your racy matrix just like everybody else on the team does. If it's working autonomously, that's accountability. If it's working with oversight, that's responsibility. If it's assisting a person, that's consultation. And so the point is, we decide where it sits and what it does.
And I think treating an AI agent the same way you treat any employees in an organization is important here. So there's a whole life cycle dimension companies can think about, and those AI agents will need to follow the same hire to retire life cycle, and you start with onboarding, for instance. So teaching them the rules, the definitions, the naming conventions, setting boundaries, telling them what they can do and cannot do, monitoring, ensuring that they behave as expected, or the performance reviews. This is the time in December for many of us. So evaluating the accuracy, drift, improvement, and then when it's time, then retiring them and turning them off because they no longer fit the job, maybe. And that life cycle needs human stewardship. So the stewards don't disappear; they become more strategic, and those data stewards they now govern both the humans and the machines. So it removes a lot of manual work, but it really increases the importance of human judgment.
I like that. And, what I know from the environments I worked in within data stewardship, there's never enough data stewards to take care of everything that you want to take care of. And it's always very reactive. You're always catching up to the needs. And that's why there's always a backlog in the data governance office with things that they need to deal with. So if an agent would be able to supplement some of that work and be on the side of the data stewards, and take care of those manual things that you were mentioning, that's even better. So okay, so we talked about some of these best practices on how you should do things. What would you say are some of the common mistakes that teams make when modernizing MDM and governance for AI?
I think the most common mistake we see is that teams assume that AI is going to magically fix all of the chaos that exists in the upstream systems. So if the source systems are a mess, the AI is just going to reflect that mess right back at you, but it's going to do it much more quickly. Another one we see a lot is people build brand new AI data sets. Bruno referenced this a little while ago, instead of improving the foundational master data that they've already got. Essentially, it ends up creating two different versions of the truth before you've even gotten started.
Yeah. And another big gap that I see is the lack of metadata. So when you don't have the lineage, when you don't have the logs, or signals, AI has no telemetry to learn from, and it's flying blind. So I think, in my opinion, the biggest mistake is still, or it's back to the title of our session today, it's believing AI will reduce the need for MDM or data governance. I think it's really the opposite. AI exposes every weakness and will reward every strength in your foundations. So if the governance workflow is not working well, or if the governance is not working well, if the company operates in a more distributed fashion, silos, but you understand what I mean. If you put AI on top of on this, it will only accelerate the dysfunction. And you never want to assume that tools will fix organizational problems, right? So AI is no different.
Yeah, I'd even add that teams sometimes over-rely on categorization models. So if you assume that AI can infer business intent within areas where human judgment still matters, product hierarchies, financial structures, compliance entities, those aren't things that you want an AI to misclassify, misinterpret, or hallucinate because they don't understand the unique taxonomy rules or exceptions within the business.
Yeah. And I saw that too with the semantic layer when that has gaps, and often it does. And the organization thinks that bringing an AI tool will fill in those gaps. That's really not the case. And yeah, then you go into
And
the taxonomy.
something you discussed just before, George. So when you were mentioning AI being Gen AI, mostly LLMs. So we see companies that are, for instance, using structured and unstructured data, let's say in industrial or supply chain environments. We see also a disconnect between OT, operational technology, IT, information technology, and the enterprise data teams. And when those words are not aligned, the result is immediate drift. And the systems will believe one thing while the business reality is something completely different. And AI here again will magnify that gap instantly.
Yeah, I see that often as well. In many organizations. Yeah, sorry, and I don't want to name names, so I'll.
Yeah, no worries.
Come on.
but some I think we know of. Yeah, maybe I'll put in the comments afterwards. So that being said, I mean, it's an exciting time, and we're seeing changes in all these fields, and we're seeing impacts both ways. What about you two? What excites you most about this convergence of AI and MDM and governance?
Ooh. Honestly, what really is exciting is the fact that AI is finally making the value of MDM undeniable. And the companies that they can see the costs of bad master data or a weak data governance instantly. So we see chatbot hallucinating in product eligibilities or a model mixing up customers, and that make the problem very visible, and visible in a way that dashboards and BI reports in the past never did.
Completely. And for data stewards, the work really is becoming more strategic. So instead of fixing typos or reconciling duplicates all day long, data stewards really get to make those decisions and validate exceptions, guiding the AI. The clerical part, the tedium, if you will, that drops away.
And it becomes proactive as well. So with metadata feeding the systems, you can start predicting anomalies. You can start predicting duplicates or where policies might be violated. So you're not just cleaning after the fact, you're catching up issues before they propagate, and you're preventing the issue before it spreads across your organization.
You know,
Yeah.
another big one for me, Bruno alluded to a little bit earlier, and that is the bridge between operational technology, OT, and information technology, IT. You know, AI plus MDM finally gives industrial teams the context that they've been missing. So sensor data that Bruno talked about, it becomes meaningful when you tie it to assets or locations or suppliers and maintenance structures. And that's where AI and ML really become operational, not just experimental.
Yeah, and maybe one more that I also mentioned before, but it's the user experience. So the user experience is really getting better, and it will help the adoption. So when you interact with your MDM, with your data governance, your data catalog, in a conversation, it changes everything, and the system will guide your matching, you'll suggest rules, and it will remove the friction you have usually. So the discipline becomes more accessible, and yeah, it's for business users, instead of doing it or avoiding it or delegating it, then it maybe become actually maybe not fun, but at least much more accessible.
Yeah. But the shift for data teams is it really becomes dramatic. They move from being data janitors, if you will, to being data product designers. And the work becomes more creative, more impactful, and more visible to business, and more enriching to the data steward or the person.
That's true. You know, one of the things that I'm excited about, and that I've seen that AI has brought to the table. I mean, we've had AI for years, mostly in more like machine learning and deep learning type applications. But now with generative AI, it's put a new lens on AI and brought it up front again, and especially at the exec table, right? And that's kind of where the money's flowing down from. And because of that, I think MDM and data governance are now considered important again, or even more important than before. Because as both of you mentioned or alluded to, is every time somebody's thinking that, okay, now we're going to bring AI, we're going to have an AI application, if the data foundation is not there, it all fails. So sometimes by failing, organizations are saying, okay, we need to get that data foundation in order. So I'm glad, because then that's putting a bit more focus on data governance, on MDM as well. So yeah, exciting times ahead. So any closing thoughts from either of you?
Yeah, I'll start. And Bruno already knows this, and maybe this might trigger some haters in the audience, but I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. That's even giving their lackluster season this year. They've still got Mahomes, they've still got all the talent, but even great teams are going to struggle when the fundamentals slip. The playbook doesn't matter if the basics underneath aren't reliable, and that's a lot of what we're working about.
Yeah. Thank you. No, nothing else really, George. It's been a great conversation. Thank you. We've put together a white paper that covers the interdependencies between data governance, MDM, and AI. And really, we'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on the topic, and of course work with you if your organizations is prepping for AI. But no, thanks. Great conversation. Thank you, George. Thank you, Ken, and thanks everyone.
Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll make sure to post a link to the ebook on how AI is reinventing MDM. So you're going to get a lot more answers there. So I'm going to put in the show notes and comments and description. But thank you so much, everybody. And thanks so much for putting the lights on how AI is reinventing MDM and data governance. Till next time, let's keep putting the lights on data.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, George.
Bye, everyone.